Alright, what's up, gang? So, I just dropped off my girls or whatever. I wanted to relay, a message that came across today, which was like, you can't expect yourself out of other people. I know people say that all the time, but I mean it in the way of, like, the part of you that developed from a certain trauma that you went through or traumatic situation that you went through, you can't expect other people who have not went through that same traumatic shit to operate the same way. Like me personally, in my childhood, I grew up basically alone. I kept myself entertained. I stood up for myself. I kept myself company. All my sisters were doing their own thing. My dad was in a different household. My mom worked 12-hour shifts. She come home, she needed to sleep. So, like, I was in my own fucking world, right? So, that shaped me into a person who I know how to fucking be by myself. I know how to do that shit. I actually feel more comfortable when I'm alone. I only really get anxious when there's people around me. So, and even when it come down to, like, school, I had got kicked out of school, and I homeschooled basically my fucking self, and I had no friends around. I had nobody around me trying to, like, motivate me to, finish that shit. Like, my mom, she told me, if that's the goal that I wanted to finish by 16, she was like, yeah, you got it, just go ahead, right? But as far as somebody constantly being on my ass to let me know, like, Alana, finish up, like, I didn't have that. So the self-motivation, keeping myself up and shit like that, and enjoying my own company, all of that shit basically came from, like, traumatic situations. And it's kind of unfair, I realize, for me to expect other people who have not gone through that to operate in the same way. Even when it come down to, like, kids and stuff, right? I started taking care of and being around kids when I was like 12 or 13, right? So I had an early learning experience of children, how stressful they can be, how overwhelming it can be, how you lose sleep. So for whenever I became a mom, I was basically expecting their dad to have this shit down packed as well. Mind you, he didn't have the same background of being around a lot of kids as I did and shit like that, right? So a lot of shit that I expect out of people is somewhat kind of unfair, I realized, because certain people have not gone through certain shit that other people has, right? Everybody has different backgrounds. Everybody has different childhoods, different situations that they went through and shit like that, right? And I kind of realized that too when I was talking to one of my sisters or whatever. Because growing up, I wasn't really into, like, men. I just wasn't. Like, I kid you not, my first experience sexually with guys, it was literally just out of curiosity. It wasn't because that's actually something I craved and wanted, like, the closeness of a man. I never really wanted that shit, but so my way of detaching from guys is a little easier for, like, to cut them off and stuff like that, compared to females who actually grew up liking boys. So me telling another female who is naturally drawn to men, she connects easily with men, me telling her, like, fuck that nigga, like, really, like, fuck him, like, he ain't shit, right? It's easy for me to say that because I'm not really attracted to them like that. It's easy for me to say that. But to a female who actually likes niggas, it's different, and she easily attaches herself to dudes, so I can't expect people who are not set up like me to operate like me, right? So yeah, that was the message that I got. Like, just, you can't expect, like, when we go through certain traumatic situations, one or two things happens. It either fucking destroys us or it builds us. A lot of shit that I went through, it built the fuck out of me. And the way I'm built it's like I really do be expecting other people to be that same exact way. And I know that's not fair. I know that's not fair. Um, yeah, I know that's not fair. So that's something I have to work on, being more compassionate, um, empathizing more. Because something else I went through, like growing up, is like figuring a lot of shit out on my own. And even coming into adulthood, like everything I had, I basically spent my very fucking last on it, you know. So part of me kind of gags a little bit when I see people who like constantly have people do shit for them, or they have a lot of help from their parents and shit like that. It's like a part of me is just like figure that shit out, like you fucking do it, right? Because it's a lot of shit that I had to figure out, you know. So yeah, just learning how to accept people for who and where they are, and not expect certain shit from them, you know. Or if you're even down to like empaths, right? So growing up, I was able to tell exactly how people felt. I was able to read my mom and know what days I could approach her and talk to her, and what days I needed to like talk to her from a distance, and what days I kind of just didn't need to say shit. So that developed within me the skill of reading people, reading vibes, reading the room. And I have to know and understand, like, even in relationships, right? I noticed that, like, I would be like, you can't fucking tell that something's wrong. You can't tell that what the fuck you did was like, I had a problem like with that. Like, you really didn't fucking know. Like, how the fuck did you not know? Like, you couldn't tell by my vibe and my energy that I wasn't fucking okay. Like, how the fuck did you not know? Right? And I know a lot of other people feel that same exact fucking way. But we just have to remember that everybody has not gone through what we went through. People who are like that, who can read the room and read the vibes, 9 times out of 10, you probably grew up in an environment that you had to be like that. You had to be able to pick up on the fucking vibes, right? But everybody's household was not like that. Everybody's household, they didn't have to read if mommy was in a mood to fuck with them or not. They just knew, like, yeah, I can go up to mommy and talk to her. I could do this. You know, mommy's unfazed. Mommy's, you know, or daddy, right? But when you grew up in a household to where, you know, you really got to read the vibes before you say shit, you know, it makes you very sensitive to energies around you, very sensitive to people, very sensitive to the unspoken. And expecting that out of other people, I notice I do that a whole fucking lot. Like, you couldn't read the room. Like, you really couldn't tell that what the fuck you just said or did wasn't, like, people weren't fucking with that. Like, you really couldn't tell that what you just said was offensive to this other person. You know? But everybody is not built like that. Everybody does not have those superpowers that we develop when we go through traumatic shit. You know, but I know I see that a lot in guys as well. Like, if they had it hard coming up, nobody really gave them any empathy. It's just like, you're a man, you push through it. They treat other people that same exact way, even their woman, sad to say, pregnant and all, just gave birth to his kids and all. He was like, well, you can still work, ain't no excuses, you get up, you make that money. Because that's how he was raised. That was the lack of compassion that he faced coming up, and he expects that same shit out of other people. So, message of the day: don't expect what your traumatic self went through out of other people, you know, because everybody has not gone through the same traumatic shit as you, and you were like that just for that moment. God didn't intend for that to be a life thing, you know. I hope I explained that, y'all, really fucking good. I really hope I did.